The fort was never built to defend Felixstowe, because Felixstowe was nothing much when they first started to defend a place. But what we are doing is we're defending the river. Now the river leads up to Ipswich, which is important still as the docks, it always was. But if you put guns at Harwich, the shipping channel's right next to the fort, this side of the river, the guns couldn't have sunk the ships, and that's why they built forts here. So first of all, we had Henry VIII. He built blockhouses here when he was having trouble with the King of Spain and France. Then King Charles, he built a fort here, and that was attacked by the Dutch in 1667. And then in the 18th century, they built this fort. This fort generally was built in 1745. By the time we get to the 1860s, the fort is no use because the guns are rubbish. They couldn't sink the ships that were in existence then. So they've rebuilt the fort and they've given us these rifled muzzle-loading guns that can sink armoured battleships. By the time we get into the Second World War, we've got lots of guns to defend the coast. What we needed was more anti-aircraft guns because we had an awful lot of enemy aircraft coming over. But that gradually improved over the years. By 1956, the fort, they've decided the forts are just not needed anymore. It's not the way to defend a country. We're going to use missiles and aircraft, so forts are shut. This is the inner parade ground, and these are called the casements. They would have had guns pointing out towards the river. Also, they had barrack accommodation on this side of it. Well, Landguard Fort is right next to the Felixstowe container terminal. And the reason why the container terminal is on our side of the river is because this is where the deep water is. The deep water channel is close to us, and so we have to defend the deep water channel. So the submarine mining establishment was put in about 1880, and it was because they realised that the guns weren't fast enough in reloading if we didn't sink enemy ships coming up the river. So they put a minefield in the river, and the mines had to be looked after. Next to the fort we have Felixstowe Museum, and that was where they maintained the mines.
So the museum building was built in 1878 as a submarine mining establishment. Mines just like this big black one here behind me were brought down into the building, packed full of explosives, and then from the turntable area put onto a little track and sent out into the harbour, ready to detonate if any enemy vessels tried to come into the harbour during the war. So Felixstowe Museum tells the story of the town of Felixstowe, going right back to Roman times and then up through the various wars. A lot of military history here. We tell the story, really important story of HMS Beehive during the Second World War and the incredibly brave men that were out there in the North Sea protecting our shores. More importantly, come in and find out about the history of our wonderful town and how we fit in with the fort.